So my core concern is that this ill-conceived and unsupported war in Iran is going to have consequences and costs for the American people. We've already lost 7 service members who've died serving our nation in Iran. There's just been a crash, an accident there that brought down a KC-135 refueler. We don't yet know if there are casualties associated, and I hope your viewers will hold that crew and their families in their prayers. But as you were just covering, there was an attack on Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, just outside Detroit, and an attack on Old Dominion in Virginia. Both of these may well be connected to the war in Iran, but the investigation is ongoing. Iran, for decades, has developed 3 different types of means of defending itself: ballistic missiles and drones that they've used to attack other countries in the region, cyber capabilities they've used to carry out criminal activities and to infiltrate the networks of opponents of the Iranian regime, and a global network of diffuse terrorist cells capable of striking. Now, they've got the blood of many Americans on their hands from bombings that Iranian agents carried out over the years in Lebanon, in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq. And my concern is that we are facing a heightened threat to Americans, to our diplomats and families and civilians, as well as our armed forces members in the Gulf and here at home in the United States. And as you just heard from a senior former special agent in the FBI under Kash Patel is profoundly unserious about the urgent need for national security investigations. Just days before Trump launched this war of choice in Iran, Kash Patel fired a group of seasoned senior counterintelligence agents from the FBI whose specialty was Iran, simply because they'd been assigned to be part of the team that investigated President Trump's mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. That's just part of a larger campaign of vengeance against those who were part of the law enforcement organizations and agencies that did their job under the previous administration and investigated the president or that investigated those who were January 6th rioters or who were convicted of crimes related to January 6th. Many, many agents in the FBI and elements of our national security and counterintelligence capabilities have been redirected to immigration enforcement and away from keeping the American homeland safe. And I'm concerned, Alicia, that that will come back to bite us in the days ahead.
Senator, I just want to take a step back for a second, because the events of today, they are harrowing. I know we do not yet know why the events unfolded in Michigan, but a synagogue was targeted, and I think the Jewish community across this country feels under attack. I am not divorcing that from the feeling that there are many other Americans that also feel under attack. The immigrant community in this country feels under attack by its own government. What can you say to folks out there right now who may be listening, watching our program, or listening in their cars or as they're on the go, and they are concerned, they are anxious, they're scared?
Well, first, Simone, you're right. This has been a really painful and difficult week, especially for the Jewish community. There have been 4 attacks on synagogues, 3 in Canada, 1 in the United States, just in the last week. And it may well be that these events are connected to the war in Iran. It's a good thing, but a tragic thing, that the U.S. government funds security guards for houses of worship, for synagogues, for mosques, for churches. And it was one of those security guards at Temple Israel who shot the attacker who had broken into the synagogue with his car and was driving down a major hallway. This is one of the largest Reform temples in America, and there is a child care center, a daycare center on site. Thankfully, none of the staff or children or congregants were harmed today, but it is alarming. And frankly, to those who are listening, Simone, I would say that it's important that we all give each other some grace, have each other's back, encourage and support fellow Americans who may be on edge or may be alarmed. And more than anything, that we press for this war to come to an end in Iran. I had a classified briefing earlier this week from some of the senior members of the Trump administration's Pentagon leadership. And bluntly, they don't have better answers in private than they do in public about how long this will last, what the core goals are, and how they're going to bring this war to an end.
You know, Senator, a lot of everything you just said turns on how the president feels about all of this. What the president thinks, not what he's being told because of very smart intelligence from the FBI, NSA, State Department, et cetera, but how he feels about, the Tomahawk strike on a building that's, a school with 175 dead children. The reality of it is we have a president who's guiding this war through his feelings. Meanwhile, you have a new Iranian administration in place that has made it very clear, okay, you want to dance? Let's dance. In fact, Reuters headline yesterday made it very clear, exclusive. U.S. intelligence says Iran government is not at risk of collapse, despite what our government is saying. The intelligence on the ground, the intelligence that's looking at what's happening inside the Iranian government, knows something very different. How do you, as a United States Senator, marry these realities in helping the nation? You just gave words about what we should be thinking and understanding and providing that grace. But when there's another attack, because this administration is wholly inept at understanding the reality, because it's not being truthful about the economy. What makes you think they're going to be truthful about these attacks? So how do you, in your role, bring that truth every day and share with the American people, okay, I know confidentiality and secret meetings and all that stuff, okay, but we got to know what the hell we're up against here. And we don't.
Yes.
Because this
and
is
Michael,
the
you
next
make some
front.
excellent points there. Yep. Michael, I'm the senior Democrat responsible for defense and intelligence appropriations. And it's my job as part of my caucus and the Senate and on behalf of the American people to ask tough questions, to push this administration, to demand public hearings, to say that I'm not going to vote for a supplemental, and I expect them to ask us for tens of billions of dollars more, but I'm not going to vote for it as a backdoor way of authorizing a war where they didn't come to us for authorization before they launched it. I think the American people are owed answers about the costs of the war, the risks of the war, and how long it's going to go on. As you just pointed out, one of the major things that President Trump has accomplished is to replace an aging, brutal dictator with a younger, angrier, likely more brutal dictator. The new supreme leader of Iran, the son of the former supreme leader of Iran, had his family killed and was likely injured in the attack that killed his father and opened the path for him to become the supreme leader. He's very close to the IRGC. The latest intelligence that's been publicly reported that you just cited is that lots of the senior leadership of the IRGC is still in place, and their favorite weapons, drones to attack shipping in the Strait of Hormuz and to attack our embassies, our civilians, and our military in the region, they've got thousands of them. And they seem to be able to keep going with this war for some time, even though President Trump, as you put it, feels like maybe we've won. Well, as has long been said about wars, the enemy gets a vote. And President Trump may want to declare victory and change the subject and move on to something else and distract people with something else. But we may well end up tied down in a conflict in the Middle East for a long time. That would be a tragic outcome here. And I'm worried that that's exactly where we're headed.